It's Happy Hour again from Central City, New Orleans. Hello, I'm Grant Morris. Happy Hour is part of the family of shows on the podcast network, itsneworleans.com. Brought to us today by Petite Pet Care. If you're going out of town, working late, or you have a school or work schedule that keeps you away from home and away from taking care of your pet, Petite Pet Care can help you out. The folks at Petite Pet Care understand that some pets are fine going to a kennel or doggy daycare, but others prefer the comfort of their own home. You know how that is, right? Petite Pet Care will take care of your cats, dogs, fish, and birds, including chickens. They're insured, bonded, Red Cross Patch, CPR, and first aid certified, but most of all, they love animals. For loving care when you're not there, Petite Pet Care, you can find them at their website, petitepetcare.com, or by calling them at 504-300-9PET. You know something? What? When you walk into a bar in New Orleans and pull up a bar stool, you never know who's going to be sitting on either side of you. What you do know is no matter what they look like, what they're wearing, whether they just got out of a limo or just got out of jail, they're going to be happy to talk to you because that's New Orleans. And this is Happy Hour, a cocktail-fueled 60 minutes of random conversation with folks who have nothing in common. Other than we're all New Orleanians in a bar. In this case, we're at Casa Borrega on Aretha Castle Haley Boulevard in Central City, New Orleans. Casa Borrega is a bar, a restaurant, and a live music venue where you can hear Latin jazz. You can check them out on Facebook, follow them on Twitter, or just come down here anytime you want and have a drink. Hang out with your own friends, or you can hang out with us right now. For the next 60 minutes, it's Happy Hour. My special guests sitting around the table in this order are Maria Levitsky. Hello, Maria.
Good afternoon.
Is that your real name?
That is
okay, I just want to check with that.
Name.
Maria Levitsky is a photographic artist whose work encompasses architecture, landscape, and the history of photography. Well, that can't be right. Is that a typo? You take photos of the history of photography?
No, but my work deals with historical aspects of photography. I kind of go back and use old techniques and my work is kind of aware of itself as a historical medium.
Okay, I'm glad you explained that because I thought you were taking photos of old photos. Maria was born in New York City and grew up in Ohio, Spain, and Great Britain. You don't see that very often, Great Britain. Before moving back to Manhattan, where she was a dancer before discovering the visual arts. Maria started out in photography as a darkroom technician. Well, that's going back.
It is.
They still had darkrooms back then when you started out.
I still do.
You still have a darkroom?
I still have a darkroom.
Well, you are very old school. That is the history of photography.
I'm stuck in the silver.
Wow. Maria started out in photography as a darkroom technician, becoming a black and white printer, and finally deciding to return to school for a master's degree in photography,
right.
Which is what brought her to New Orleans and UNO specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, okay.
So
now you're a master in photography.
I have an MFA. Yeah,
MFA.
I am a mother A.
Okay. Well, congratulations. When did you finish that?
2 years ago.
So you've been in MFA for 2 years?
I have been a master.
Well, congratulations. Very nice.
Thank you.
I'm sure that wasn't very easy to do after all these, starting off in the darkroom, and now you have to compete with these kids.
I'm an old horse,
never heard
so they had to
Did
learn a lot.
you say horse?
I did.
Okay, thank you. I was hoping you said that. Tora Wallin is here. Hello, Tora.
Hello.
Tora is a New Orleans artist, architect, and musician who was born in Oslo, Norway, and moved to New Orleans to also do a master's degree. Yeah. Okay, what's the chance of that? What are the chances of having that? In architecture at Tulane, that was 1975. Wow, can you believe that, you guys? Mm-mm. In the intervening almost 40 years, Tora has gotten married, had 2 children, has had many exhibitions of his abstract paintings and graphics, has created posters for notable New Orleans events, including the Crescent City Classic and the highest graphic honor possible in New Orleans, a Jazz Fest poster. How about that? Wow. That is absolutely pretty unbelievable. Cool. Tora has accomplished all this while working full-time as an architect and being a cross-dresser. It doesn't actually say that. And playing music in a number of bands. If you're still alive and your hearing is intact, you may remember Tora from his most popular band, Big Bang, in the early 1980s. Wow.
That's correct.
You think anyone's still got their hearing from the 1980s and still with us?
Yeah, some of them are.
They are?
Some of them are. They every now and then reminds me that I am that old.
People see you out and they say, "Hey, I remember you from Big Bang." What did you play in Big Bang exactly?
Keys, guitar.
Did you sing?
Yeah, you sang too.
Do you sing with a Norwegian accent, or do you lose the accent when you sing?
I lose the accent when I sing.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it is.
How weird is that? Why is that? I notice that people sing music from all sorts of countries, and they all have this sort of standard American accent when they sing. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah, it becomes musical. I mean, it doesn't really become language anymore. It's a sound that comes out, and I don't have an accent, by the way. I have a speech impediment. What are you talking about? That's too long.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you had a speech impediment. Bill Daniel is here as well as Nick Ellman. Bill Daniel is the guitar player, and Nick Ellman is the alto sax player in a band called Naughty Professor, which is a 6-piece New Orleans instrumental funk band, which is a sentence you've heard before. But this band is different. Naughty Professor manages to transcend the well-known New Orleans party vibe, taking the funk into a new universe of slick musicianship, clever arrangements, and hook-laden songs that stand apart. I couldn't say that any better.
Yeah,
was
no,
wonderful.
That's exactly
you need
true.
to write our
That was
bio is
beautiful.
what needs to happen.
Yeah.
We should, whoever wrote that, we should hire them for you guys.
Yeah, definitely.
This band
You're
is,
hired.
I mean, we could just shorten it by saying this band is fucking awesome.
Well, thank you.
There's a whole new level of New Orleans funk bands that we haven't heard before. No matter how good the other ones are, Galactic and everybody, and who are great,
Yeah, we love those
you
guys.
guys are doing something totally different with it.
Well, cool. I'm glad you feel that way.
Do you,
Thank you.
It's incredible. I don't know how you do it.
I
Nordic
can't wait to
Professor's
hear it.
debut album is called Until the Next Time. It came out last year, and you can check it out on Bandcamp, or you can link to it from our website. It's neworleans.com. Other places you can steal music from as well. I'm sure
Yeah.
it's available.
over the internet.
Is it free, or are you selling it?
Well, you can steal it for free, and then you could buy it from us for like $10.
After you listen to it and go, these guys need some money.
That's
Yeah.
practically free. $10 is.
Andrew Duhon, who's our happy hour troubadour, is not here today. He's wandering around the world. I think he's somewhere in New York City or whatever. But hopefully he'll be back one of these days. And he would be do you know him?
Andrew Duhan. I don't believe
No,
I
I do
do.
not.
What do you guys do? Are you musicians or are you students or what?
Well,
We're done with school.
Yeah,
we were students
Yeah.
of music here in New Orleans, and some of the guys in the band are still in school, but we have recently graduated.
Well, our crack research team wasn't able to find out anything about you at all, so you're like a blank
Good.
slate to us. So you can make it all up completely.
we got pretty good
less we know,
records
the better.
so far.
The record speaks for itself. But what? So you went to school? You did music at school, or did you
Yeah.
do something else?
Yeah. We met in the jazz department at Loyola,
Okay.
and we just started. I think Nick and I met before school even started when we came to New Orleans. I think
Yeah, the first week we moved here, we met and formed this band.
skipped orientation.
First
screw
week.
that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And just jam in the practice room. That's what we did.
And what sort of music did you play when you first started?
Similar
This
stuff.
same thing.
Well, like our early songs came from those early jams.
Yeah, it was just improvised
Yeah.
stuff happening that was,
And where are you?
interesting to us.
Where are you from, Nick?
I'm from Chicago.
Not from Houston.
Okay.
In the
Yeah.
States here.
So nobody at this table is from New Orleans.
No.
No.
Tora's from Oslo. You're from Houston.
Yep.
Chicago.
New
And
York.
New York City by way of Spain. You grew up in Spain.
I
Wow.
was there for a year when I was 11. Yep, lived there for a year.
How
and
come?
My
Just decided to
my
move?
stepfather was a professor of music and a concert pianist,
Oh, cool.
actually, and so he was on sabbatical, as professors used to get. I don't know if they still get those things
Every
these
7
days.
years you got like a
Every
year
7
off to
years,
go.
So we went to Spain.
Went to Spain.
For a year.
So
yeah.
your stepfather was a concert pianist and
Yes.
a professor. Is he still with us?
No longer. No, he passed away about 10 years ago.
So you grew up with, what happened to your original dad?
He's still with us.
He is.
He was a professor of mechanical engineering at
So
City College.
your
in
mom
New
got
York.
married to 2 professors in a row.
Yeah, but it was all around music. They met at music-related events. The Marlborough Music Festival in Vermont, Marlborough, Vermont. It's a classical music festival.
yeah.
That's where
Okay, I don't know anything about it. Do you guys know anything about it?
I do not.
someone out there in the
I think pot is legal.
Universe.
Is pot legal in Vermont?
almost.
Was that Washington State? It's legal.
I think it's Washington State.
Yeah, that's the only reason I know those states apart. Is that
Practically.
Right.
pot's
Pot.
legal in one of them and not the other, but that's the one.
Right.
So what were they doing at both at a classical convention? These two,
Oh,
three
well,
parents of
back in
yours?
the day, it was for like very skilled amateur musicians and people who were on their way to being professional. So if you played an instrument and you'd been playing for a while and you were proficient enough to play chamber music, or it would be like band camp for nerds for a classical
But this is
music
for adults,
nerds.
though.
For adults, young
People with a
adults.
regular day job.
Well,
Oh, young
I
adults.
mean, my mother was in her very early 20s, or maybe she was 19 or 20 when she.
And what did
first-
she play?
She played the oboe.
Wow, that's a very strange instrument.
Very strange, yeah.
Great
Strangest.
lip action.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Double reed,
you have to
Yeah,
make
yeah.
your own reeds for
Yeah,
that.
you have
right,
to make
yeah.
your own, like, sort of shave
Right.
them with a little razor and on a stone or something. Yeah, so.
How did you get into the oboe, your mom?
I have no idea.
Do you have her number? We
How
can
does
call her up.
You'd have to dial up there to.
Oh, she
to the-
passed
to the
away as
great
well. They're all
beyond.
gone. The 3 parents. No,
No, my
someone's
father
alive. Your
is
father
still
your-
with us.
So do you
yes.
get along with him?
Yes, I do very well.
So
yes.
why'd they get divorced?
Oh goodness,
Wow.
that's digging deep.
Well, what's the reason?
Oh, I think a profound difference of opinion somehow. I think,
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
but it was when you were pretty young, though.
I was about 5. Yeah.
Did you know anything about it at 5?
No, not really. No. No.
Afflictional music, that's what it was.
Yeah, probably, or
What did you say to her? Afflictional?
No, I did
that
not. I
Norwegian?
said,
What did you say?
we are all damaged by the music.
The
I
violin
mean,
and
yeah.
the oboe
Yeah.
no longer
that
sounded
didn't
good
sound
together.
right. That's what I'm saying.
coexist.
Exactly.
It would be hard to play. So your mother was a oboe player. Your father was a violin player.
He was the mechanical engineer who played the violin. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and they were all from New York City, and there was quite a very vibrant community of chamber music musicians. And my father used to get together with friends every Saturday night and play chamber music.
Do you play music?
I played the flute when I was a teenager, but I gave it up.
And now?
I quit. Now, no. Yeah, I don't play music anymore. I'm a music appreciator, and my involvement with music. I had a radio show on and off for about 15 years.
Wow.
At WFMU in New Jersey.
That's a cool station.
It's a great station.
Yeah, that's one of the only good stations left in the United States of America still.
Well, aside
Wow,
from
that's a bold
WWOZ,
statement.
of course.
Well, but I said one of them. No, there's a few good stations,
Yeah.
but that is definitely one of them.
It is.
What sort of show did you do?
It was very eclectic. It was pretty much what I liked, you know.
Right.
And
I
I
hate
have
this-
really good taste, so.
You do. What do you
Yeah.
like? What sort of music do you like?
Solo flute, right? Just all the time.
Jazz flute.
Yeah.
Like
Jethro
Ron
Tull.
Burgundy.
Jethro Tull.
Jethro Tull.
For
Awesome.
3 hours straight.
What do you like to play, really?
Well, back then, I mean, it's been since I've been here. I have not done a show at all, but I would sometimes do theme shows. Like I would play 3 hours of film soundtracks from the 50s, 60s, 70s. One of my favorite soundtrack composers. His name's John Barry. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
He's an English.
Yeah,
composer.
he's English.
He's very famous.
Yeah,
film
he
composer.
passed away a couple of years ago, I think. So I sort of had a collection of film soundtracks from this certain era. Elmer Bernstein's another one of my favorites. Really sort of jazzy, cool cat kind of stuff. And then most of my shows were more of a mix of indie rock and psychedelic and Animal Collective and
So it wasn't film scores every week.
no, not at all.
There was
no.
just one show.
Once in a while, I would be like, I'm going to do a film score show.
So that's the one you decided to tell us was the type of show you normally did, even though you didn't normally do it.
Well,
the once in a
because
while.
What came to your mind? What brought that to your mind?
because you asked me what type of show I do.
Okay.
Normally, I didn't do any particular type of show. It was
Okay.
very freeform. I mean, FMU is a freeform radio station, so pretty much every DJ can do whatever they want.
You just bring in whatever you want to play.
Bring in what you want. And they have
Cool.
a massive music library, so I relied very much on the music library there. So I'm not really a collector of music. Some of the DJs are avid music
Right.
collectors, and they're experts in a certain, niche. But
Okay, I don't want to sound like Howard Stern, even though you come from New York, but I'm staring at your breasts. What,
you are not. You're lying.
What is going on? What is that tattoo?
It's a dragon.
It looks like it's going from your chest all the way down your arm or something?
It goes all the way down the side of my
Wow, cool.
Can you
torso.
really? So it's
Right.
all across your chest
Yeah.
and
And this
down
is, you're not photographing this, so
well, we can. Yeah, Douglas will take a photo. Douglas will take a shot of it. Put it on our website. It's on our website. It's neworleans.com. Here we go.
Oh, wow. Y'all need to check out the
Let's
website now.
Can we have another look? Can I have another look at that? That's
Wow,
massive.
that
It's
is-
like a Chinese dragon.
I would show you the head, but then I'd have to take my pants off.
Well, it's totally up to you. Have another one of these cocktails.
A few more.
Where is the head of the dragon?
A
If you
few
don't
more.
know?
Down the side of my leg.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I was just wondering if it
Okay.
was disappearing into anything.
Well done.
Douglas,
that was
bring
a
over
safe
that picture
answer,
of
I
drinks.
can say that. You didn't ask which side of the leg.
There it is. Hey, nice photo. Okay, so we'll put the photo of that. It's going to be up on our website. It's neworleans.com under the happy hour page. What made you get that? And first of all, how old were you? How drunk were you? And what made you do it?
Oh, it was about 7 years ago, and
Right.
I was not drunk.
Not
and
drunk at all,
It took
okay.
about 5 sessions of 3 hours each, and
So about 28 hours.
no, about 15
Oh,
hours.
hang on.
or
They
so.
changed that.
Huh?
3 5s is 15. now.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing, right?
I don't know why they keep changing it all the time.
Cannot keep up with mathematics.
So, what made you choose this? Is it a Chinese dragon or is there some other
It's more of a Japanese.
Japanese?
And I was a Japanese tattoo artist who actually painted it on in India ink as he kind of painted it, and then we looked at it, and then afterwards he outlined it in Sharpie, and then he tattooed it.
So you had a lot of opportunities to say, you know what, I've decided against this.
But every time I went, it was only partially done. So once he started, I really kind of had to continue.
Okay, so good point. But so he did the whole thing as a painting and then a Sharpie.
Yeah.
And so it was all on you the whole time. So you had to go back like 5 days in a row before you took a shower.
Well, it was maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks, or more, maybe longer between sessions.
Why didn't it wash off in the shower?
No, he would redraw it every time. And the thing that happened was that it's actually much bigger. I thought it was going to be about a quarter of the size.
Oh, no.
It was much bigger than I originally.
Surprise.
You know, he looked at you and he simply said, "Man, this is my opportunity. I mean, I have not gotten a person like this in for my entire career."
I think you're right. He had me on that table.
Right, and he said, "I'll give you a rebate."
How big did you think would you have liked it to be?
Oh, about maybe 18 inches or 20
Like an
inches.
iguana?
Yeah, like a full-grown iguana. Maybe
Right,
like
right.
a
Not a giant dragon on your
teenage
whole
iguana.
body.
Yeah.
But when he did it with the Sharpie and so on, and you looked at it, you could have said, "Oh, this is not what I was thinking about."
Well, yeah.
Too late.
Yeah, it's a process, and once things start rolling, of course I could have said yes. That's not exactly what I was thinking, but
Had he done the first bit of the tattoo before you had realized, before you got up and looked in the mirror and went, "Oh shit, that's what it's going to look like"?
No, he drew it on me. He
And
drew
you
it on
saw
me,
that.
and
You saw the
I
drawing.
liked it.
You know
So
what?
you knew what was going on.
I
Okay.
think I figured it out. It took so long that the dragon grew. What he really wanted to do was a small baby dragon. But man, it took forever. It grew.
That's an interesting idea, that you could have a whole body tattoo when you're a kid,
Yeah.
and then it would grow with you.
I think it would
That's an
get
awesome
very
idea.
blurry, though. What it would
It's
do
not
would
if
be
you thought it
it
through.
would spread. If you got it made from dots, perhaps it would grow with you and not get blurry.
If you thought it through, if you intended to grow. I wonder if anyone ever does that.
I don't think you can tattoo minors unless.
So are you single yourself, or married, or in a relationship, or what's the deal?
I eschew all those things.
You're not none of those.
None of the above. No, I'm single.
Okay. So what happens when people see that when you take your clothes off for the first time and you're going to bed with somebody
Not
and they go,
too many
"Wow,
have seen it."
Not too many, really? Really? You don't get naked with a lot of people. I guess you can still have sex with somebody with your clothes on.
Right.
After all,
Gives a
if
whole
you're embarrassed about people seeing it,
Gives a whole new meaning to the club of the dragon.
Yes, it does.
or chase it. So really, what do people think? Do most people love it?
Most people love it.
It's pretty cool.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's
it's
very
awesome.
cool.
I love
Very
it.
cool.
Yeah. Do you guys have you have a tattoo?
I was gonna
over
say,
here, Bill?
I had
What
to
have you got?
mention my
Bill's taking his shirt
compadre
off.
right here. This is Bill Daniel. He has the nickname Wild Bill.
Wow. look at
And
that.
he's got some really wacky tattoos that
What?
I'd like to hear him explain to you the meaning behind them, because I'm still not quite
You're
sure.
not clear.
There's
Okay,
really-
let's go
there's really
around
no meaning
let's go
here.
around your body, Bill.
So
Let's
we
start
have-
with this. It's in like a what is it? It's something
Crawfish playing the bass.
a crawfish playing a double bass.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
well
then we got-
don't go past
Okay,
that.
all right.
How'd you come up with that one?
That was your first one, right?
Yeah.
That's
I-
drunk, right?
It's a,
I had a shot of tequila before I got
That's-
but it was in the. I planned it.
Right.
I was like, so I wanted a tattoo, and my friend was like, "Oh, I'm gonna get a crawfish tattoo." I was like, "You should get a crawfish playing the bass. That's awesome." And then I was like, "No, wait, I'll get that tattoo," and so I did. And then I decided I needed to fill out the band, so I got piano,
There's
penguin
a
playing the
penguin
piano,
playing the piano and
Yeah.
smoking a pipe, blowing bubbles.
exactly, and then an octopus on the drums.
good
And
choice.
then I decided I wanted another band, and so I got
Whoa. On your chest
Yeah.
is like mariachi
Exactly.
skeleton.
Day of
yeah,
the Dead.
precisely.
Day of the
Dia de
Dead.
los Muertos, yeah, exactly.
Well, you're in the right place at Casa Borrega.
Yeah, this place is awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
This strikes me a little bit like if you tattoo Maria of the girlfriend, and then later on you go with Anne later on, what do? You know, that band, is that band to your band, or is that
Oh no, it's just
any band,
yeah,
right?
any band.
Okay.
It's a band of skeletons.
Any Maria that you will meet, right?
exactly.
Okay,
This
okay.
is for you, baby. You know.
This is for you, right.
So that's a band of mariachi skeletons. Is that from Day of the Dead? Well, you just-
that was the concept. I talked to my guy. I was like, "Yo, I want Dia de los Muertos mariachi band. What you got?" And
All right,
that's what he had.
So now you have to have the same, right?
Nobody's
me?
following
Yeah.
suit.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely
Nick, you're not getting tattoos at all.
Just not in that theme. It's just not my
Not animals
my style.
playing musical instruments.
Well,
That is
What's
weird.
wrong with that? Yeah.
What's wrong with it? There's nothing wrong in itself. It's unusual, I would think. Who did them?
Let's see.
We should give this guy a plug. Is it
The
a
guy's
local
name?
guy?
I've been trying to contact him actually. Cause
Why don't you call me?
he said his name was T. And
He said his name was T.
So in the phone,
Oh,
it's,
that should be easy to find.
yeah,
T.
T. So the phone
T
is
for
T,
tattoo.
last name tattoo. Yeah, that's
T
what I
tattoo.
got.
T for
T
tattoo.
at two.
Yeah.
Oh,
T
yeah.
for tattoo, right?
Yeah.
Very good, Tora.
Yeah, find that.
What is the deal with not being able to find him? Doesn't he have a shop or a shop?
Oh well, he was at one shop. He was at Mid City Voodoo, and then he went to another shop in the Treme, and I found him. And then we had discussed the whole barter system where I was going to give him a guitar and teach him lessons, and then he was going to keep drawing on me.
Wow.
And then lost him. So I don't know where he is.
Hmm.
He seems like a pretty
Well,
eclectic guy. Just goes around.
If anyone's listening to this, we have 3 or 4 people
Find
actually
T.
listen to this right
Yeah.
through. So somebody might know where T for tattoo, T for tattoo.
He's got a
ended up.
$100 bill tattooed on his forehead. So
That's true.
yeah,
Ooh.
that's
So
true.
if you see a guy with a $100 bill tattooed on his forehead,
Find him.
That's your
Go-
man.
Yeah.
go to naughtyprofessor.com, drop him a line,
Yep.
because Bill's looking for him.
Yeah, I would love to do that
The
barter.
guy,
that
the
we
guy
planned.
got a $100 bill tattooed on his forehead.
Yeah, just like into his hair. Kind
Thank God you didn't do that.
No,
because
yeah,
that
that-
would have been
I'm good with
Hard.
the face. The face is.
Yeah, leave the face
Yeah,
alone.
yeah.
yeah. So what's your next tattoo? You got an octopus playing the drums.
Yeah, yeah.
Got a penguin playing the piano, and a crawfish playing double bass. What's
I
the
think-
obvious next thing?
The obvious one would be an alligator playing the trumpet. I think.
So that was my first guess
But
too.
but
Nick, all right.
But I think I'm going to diverge away from the animals playing instruments thing and just kind of go with other stuff.
Just like Mom or Elvis or something.
No, like a phoenix. I'm thinking about a phoenix.
Oh man.
Yeah, like a
Like a
big
phoenix
old-
rising from the ashes. or
Exactly, yeah.
something? What would that represent? Just something
Absolutely
you like?
nothing.
Nothing.
None of this
Right.
represents anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just
Oh, wait a minute. It's all that story you had about your musician and the band. That just.
Oh, yeah, no, it's just it's art. It's not. It's obviously tied to music. Obviously, I'm a musician. I love music. It's what keeps me going. So far, everything is musical, but there's no like really emotional. I got this tattoo for this reason.
So you can, in about 5 years from now, go to the doctor and say, I need this removed.
Technically, or I could just get it covered up with another tattoo.
it's
That'd be
not.
difficult to cover up.
It's a
It
str-
would.
it's, you
It'd be
think
tough.
people would spend a lot of time thinking about what they're going to get
Yeah,
tattooed, but I often find they don't.
I spent 2 weeks.
2
thinking
weeks.
about it.
Yeah, it's not like it's permanent or anything.
But
No,
you,
it's definitely permanent,
you
yeah.
must have really thought about
Yeah.
this.
I did. I spent perhaps, let's say, 12, 13 years before I got this big dragon. I had some friends who lived across the block from me in Brooklyn, where I used to live. And they were both tattoo artists. They were also visual artists. And we did a system of barters. I used to make hats, among my other things that I
We
used to
haven't
do.
got onto your hat making history yet.
So then, so all of the other tattoos that I have were from Laurie and Bill, and and then they moved to the West Coast. So that was it for me for a long time. And then I had thought about it a long time, and I was like, well, the next thing I do, I want to get a big body piece, which I guess means you get a big piece that covers a big
And you
part of your
got
body.
a
And I got it.
big piece.
So I was looking around for people, and I went to a place on 2nd Avenue called New York Adorned in New York City. And I looked through the portfolio, and I saw somebody's work that I really liked. And his name, I think, was Yoshi. And it turned out that he was friends with somebody that the boyfriend of a Japanese girl that I worked with at the time. And they met at some kind of Japanese Aikido, like boxing, some sort of, martial arts, some kind of, so it was just this
Okay.
really small world.
Are you going somewhere with this?
No, just,
Oh, that's
nowhere at all.
There's no end to this.
There's no
That's
end.
just a strange connection of people in
No, but
Manhattan who knew
you-
each other
yeah,
were Japanese, and
exactly,
one of
yeah.
them was a tattoo
and
artist who you
there was
liked
some,
on 2nd Avenue.
Yeah, and the idea that I
I was
thought
gonna-
about it a lot. I
All right,
did
so you
think
did
about
have a long time to think about
I
it.
did
You
have a
didn't
long
just
time
do
to
it
think
spur
about
of the moment.
it. Yeah, and I wanted to do a dragon. I knew I wanted.
Okay,
to
listen,
do that.
before we go any further, we have to take a listen to some music from Naughty Professor so you
Please.
guys know what
Okay.
we're talking about.
Very cool.
You're going to love this. What are we going to listen to? We're going to play something off your album.
Yeah, why don't we listen to the very first track on the album? It's called Six Dog Night, and that's
Dog-
Night with a K.
Aha.
There's a
you
great
Wow.
story, actually.
Okay.
Oh, it is a pretty good story.
What
Yeah.
is it?
Well, it has to do with corn dogs and our tenor player.
Our tenor saxophone
Yeah,
player.
yeah.
Other saxophone player.
Yeah,
is-
Ian Bowman, who's not here with us right now, but you got it? You want me to tell the story?
You got
Alright,
it, man.
So
it's all you.
we call him Bowman just by his last name. He
Last
has
name
an
kinda guy.
affinity for corn dogs. He loves corn dogs. And then, so one night, he we were like, you need to eat all these corn dogs right now. So he's like, okay, I'll eat 6 corn dogs. And so he ate the 6 corn dogs.
What does he play again, this guy?
Tenor saxophone.
Tenor saxophone.
And then after that, we wrote this song. It was like, 6 dog night. He's our like knight in shining armor that can eat 6
He
dogs.
ate 6 corn dogs.
Yeah.
And then, but he's not the drummer.
No. What's amazing later is though he ate 12 corn dogs in a night.
He doubled his record.
Yeah, but we had already
pretty
written the
incredible.
song, so
But he didn't. If he halved it, he could have done 3 dog night, which is
it's a band
it's
already.
a band.
Yeah,
already,
yeah.
So we
Yeah,
could,
exactly.
we could have sued you for that. So thank God he
Maybe
ate
that's
6
where
and
they got
12.
their inspiration.
Yeah,
actually.
yeah.
12 corn dogs.
Did you hear
That's a
about
lot.
that semi that fell over on the
Yes,
highway that was full of
actually.
corn dogs?
we definitely talked about it. Yeah, don't worry.
Well, corn dogs are
Corn dogs
great.
all over the freeway.
Who doesn't love corn dogs, right?
Yeah, I mean, corn
Once
dogs-
every 10 years. Maybe.
Yeah, I'll have like one. One
They're
is
good,
good.
they're good at Mardi Gras. You can get them because there's like there's corn dog people selling them all over the place. But
I
where
haven't
does
had
he,
the corn dog.
where does he
in
buy them?
years.
You haven't toured. They're awesome.
State Farm.
There are,
Yeah.
maybe.
The Winn-Dixie down the street
Yeah.
on Chapatulas.
They're frozen.
Yeah, they're frozen.
And how does he cook them?
He actually does
Deep fry?
microwave.
He
No,
oh my
microwave.
God!
Yeah, he's a pro. He's
Microwave
a professional.
frozen
Yeah, it's amazing.
dozen corn dogs.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ! That's
So-
well, that was a horrible story, but the song, the song is fantastic. Take a listen to this.
Yeah.
Nice, very nice indeed.
Thank you.
Naughty Professor. Six Dog Night off the album Until the Next Time. It's really cool stuff, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's
it's
like a
tight.
throwback to old school when people would actually play.
Well, it's jazzy, and it's not just
What do you think? You've been playing music for how many years in New Orleans?
in New Orleans, about 40 years.
40 years.
Yeah.
So how would you describe that?
It's highly technical, but it's high tech. I mean, not high tech. It's high quality. It's really fast. It's really tight, and it's really cool.
Well, thank you.
I really like it.
Yeah.
What did you think as a person who hosts a music show?
It's good
Maria?
stuff. Good stuff.
Good
Yeah.
stuff.
It takes like talent. It's like they're skilled
It's actual musicians, not just a bunch
Actual
of guys smoking
musicians.
pot, getting up on stage and
and
drinking.
We do
hitting
that
some
too,
buttons.
don't worry.
Yeah. No, it's very impressive musicianship.
Absolutely.
How's your traction in New Orleans?
It's good. I think we keep
getting better.
moving in the right direction, especially. It was just fun.
Cool.
We're playing a show tomorrow. I know that you're not gonna listen to it by then, but we're headlining One Eyed Jacks, which is really cool.
Okay.
We've
That's
headlined Howlin' Wolf. We've played with bands like Galactic
Okay.
and Soul Rebels.
Cool.
We're picking up. It's fun.
Yeah,
It's really fun.
I've always wondered, like, here in the city, there's more live music every night than it seems like, and than anywhere else I've been.
Yeah.
It is.
Absolutely.
And
Even in New York, you lived in New York for a
yeah,
long time.
yeah. I mean, it seems like maybe it's just really highlighted here on the radio, and you hear it like it's really,
You know what
the
it? You know
music
what it? You know what it
presence is-
really is? New Orleans is the most open music scene that
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
ever
Yeah.
see. I mean, I could play music. I lived in Europe. I played music in Europe. I mean, listen, this place open. If you're inside of the musicians' circle in this town, you're always in. It doesn't matter who you are, as long as you can rip the song and do it right.
That sounds great.
It's
I love
like,
that.
I mean, I played with,
Yeah.
listen, I played Tipitinas one time without mentioning the name, and I was sitting in with a friend of mine who said, please sit down. And you suddenly sit in with the best musicians in town and say, oh, well, shit, I must have become really good. Not that I was. The point was, it was just that open.
Yeah.
I mean,
And it seems like this town can support so many musicians because of that kind of atmosphere.
it's a culture. It's
Yeah,
life.
it's
I
amazing.
mean,
It's great.
Every night.
in the old days, and I say old days before Katrina, I mean, I don't hate to bring that stuff up, but I mean, it was so open here in the sense that you could walk into a neighborhood and go to a so-called music party, and it was people opened their doors to their home, and there was like 100 people in there, and it was like the local
Sweet.
stars playing, or when I say stars, the local boys and the local people were playing.
So is it not like that anymore?
Well, it still
so
is, but we are all worried about the old dudes are a little worried about that thing. Are we going to become like New York? If you have a name, you'll be invited. If you don't have a name, you're not invited. I mean, it's like in New Orleans. Truly, I mean, I've been invited in every aspect of the music here. I mean, I played a lot of venues. I played tips. I played jazz fest. I played with good players. I played with not so great players. But the openness was really always there. It was about, Charlie Mingus once said, which is really kind of cool. Charlie Mingus, the bass player.
Yeah,
In the background, you hear going like,
Yeah.
right? What he actually said was that, I'm going to keep my language to the decent language. He basically said, I'm not paying you to coast. I'm paying you to stretch.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, screw the safety. Play all out, and that's kind of New Orleans was like. It didn't matter. You played out. All right. So
There's no
let
net.
it rip. Let it happen. Let's have fun. If it doesn't groove, if it doesn't funk, if it doesn't sit, you're out. If
Well-
you're in, it's like you're in, regardless.
It seems like if enough people keep the old school way, even if they're new to town, being open, then that kind of tradition will
Yeah.
stay alive.
I was new to town when I got here. I ended up playing in reggae bands and funk bands and all kinds of stuff. I mean, I was the only
What do you play?
keyboards and guitar.
Oh, keyboards.
And I do it for love. I mean, I always play music. I always will.
Why did you not play in a real band or keep going as a
What?
full-time? How come you didn't become a full-time musician?
Because I made my mind up when I was 18. I was about to go professional at the time, and I wanted to be a painter. So I said, you got to make a decision.
Do you?
Yeah. And I made a decision, and I said, I'm never going to quit. I'm always going to play. I mean, I played when I lived in Switzerland. I played in Norway. I played here.
But you made a conscious decision not to be a professional musician.
No, I didn't want to fall into the trap of having to perform and eat crud. I mean, seriously.
What
I-
does that mean?
Meaning, you have to do everything to just get to the top or to hang in there, and you work hard. Listen, I admire my musician friends. I mean, it's a tough business.
So you're too lazy.
Yeah. No,
Well, painting is,
no, it's not. That's tougher. in
that's
some
not
ways.
easy either.
No.
I
But-
think when something becomes a job, then
I agree.
you have to. I mean, if it's a creative endeavor and it becomes a job, sometimes it can kill the joy of
Absolutely.
doing it.
Well, do you still like taking photos?
Well, momentarily, I'm taking a hiatus because I've been working on a house, and that's taken me like
That's interesting because
taken
Tora
pretty
is
much
an
all my
architect.
time. Yep.
What sort of a house is it? An old house?
It's an old house in Holy Cross. Yeah, so
Right.
it's over 100 years old.
Yeah, but I'm an architect, and I've been working as a full-time architect. Quote. I mean, I've had my own firm for a long time, which means that I can play my time.
Yeah.
But I have a full-time job as a painter. At night I paint, and then every now and then.
Tora, what are you? You're a painter who's an architect and a musician, or you're
Yeah.
an architect who's a painter and a musician,
I'm
or you're a
a
musician
painter
who's a
that
painter and
is an
architect?
architect and a musician.
You're a painter first.
Absolutely.
That's the first thing you do. So people ask you, what do you do? You say, I'm a painter,
Yeah.
not an architect.
Depending on who I'm talking to.
Okay. Suppose you're talking to Bill with the
Painter.
tattoos.
A painter.
He's a guitar player.
I'm a
Okay.
painter. Of course,
Suppose
you don't want my tattoos on your body because I'm an abstract painter. I don't know.
Maybe he does. Maybe that'd be a nice change of pace.
never know,
actually.
you never know.
Crawfish.
that's a whole new thing you
Yeah,
could
that's
be. You
a
could
new
be a
one.
tattooist.
I could be the new tattoo
T.
T.
It would fit perfectly, yeah.
You could put a $10 bill on your head at least.
But-
Just for the beginning, until you got better and you could add the zero.
But coming back to that New Orleans aspect, and I say that to anybody that's entering into New Orleans, and that is that, listen, this is a great town if you open up your own mind, because the city will open up to you. I mean, that's the fact.
Don't you have to be good here, though, as a musician especially? You guys?
You gotta have a
we like to
heart.
think
You
so,
gotta
yeah.
have a heart.
No one's going to come and hear you if you're no good. There's a pretty tough audience here. You have to be good, right?
Yeah,
They've
but-
been great to us.
Well, you are good.
Well, thank
There's
you.
No question about
but
that.
Day one, the city's been so open and welcome to us.
Yeah, and at the same token, you can go to some of the so-called, great blues players in New Orleans. I mean, technically, they were not that great. I mean, if you're talking about Jeff Beck here, I mean,
Right,
there's
right,
not
right.
a lot of them are not. But the personality and the way they did it was all that matters. It wasn't just
Right.
a question of technicality. It was the message that came out of
Yeah.
this stuff. And New Orleans has a message, always had. I mean, this is all about the blues being loved. and
what kept
all
you
that.
here all this time?
New Orleans.
Just the place?
I mean,
did things just go right for you when you got here?
yeah,
or
I mean,
did-
this is an open city, and I like to live here. I mean, I lived a lot of places, and I just love New Orleans.
you
I mean,
came
the
here in
food is-
1975. It must have been
Yeah.
vastly different.
It was different. It was really different. I mean, listen, the first, we're talking about music here, the first gig I went to, or not gig, the first place I went to listen to music was a place called Lou and Charlie's. Doesn't exist anymore. It didn't exist for that long. And Johnny Vodakovich and Julius Farmer and Henry Butler were playing in front of 4 people, right? In a bar where you got wine and there was tables and everything, and you're sitting there. And listen, these guys were kick-ass. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I was beyond. I was very heavy into, modern jazz or jazz in general. And I walked in here and I listened to Johnny. Just Johnny alone is like a master drummer, and he's, I know him, and but these guys are so low key. It's just amazing. But these guys were so good. And I was saying, man, what is this? The average player in New Orleans?
But
I need to
didn't-
go home.
You didn't come here.
Johnny's not the average player.
No, it's not. It's not.
And
No.
Henry Butler is extraordinary. But you came here not to be a musician. You came here to do a degree in architecture.
Yeah, I started.
Why did you come to
architecture.
New Orleans from Oslo, Norway?
I have a little bit of an intricate story, and that is that my grandfather and my grandmother were actually American citizens. They lived in Galveston. My grandfather was a Coast Guard in the Coast Guard in the United States, stationed in New Orleans. He contracted malaria, and but they lived in Galveston. And
Hang on a sec. Where did he get malaria? Not here, I see.
Yeah, in New Orleans,
He contracted malaria in New Orleans.
Yep.
And what year are we talking about?
1906.
Wowee.
I think
didn't
it
know
was
we had
from all
malaria.
the canals and swamps surrounding the
Yeah, I
city.
mean, listen, when I came here in 1975, recognize this, the Norwegian government, or the whatever.
What do you mean whatever? Was it the Norwegian government or it wasn't the Norwegian government?
Well,
what would be similar to the Norwegian
they were
government?
telling me that if I did go to New Orleans, I needed to be have vaccination against typhus and malaria and yellow fever. I mean, New Orleans was still looked upon as a kind of a
1975.
somewhat exotic place. You know, it was.
Did you have to have a cholera shot as well?
Yeah. Well, I don't know exactly what I had. It hurt like hell. That's all I remember.
What about diphtheria? What is that? Do you know what diphtheria is?
Yeah,
That used to
I
be
know.
one you used to. What is that?
Some disease used the word. It's.
I guess it's a disease.
Yeah.
So you had to have all those shots in 1975 to come here.
Yeah.
So in 1906, was it your grandfather?
Yeah.
Your grandfather got malaria
While in the Coast Guard.
while in the Coast Guard, and he was from Galveston, and he was living in New Orleans. So how does that relate? How did you get to Oslo?
Well,
how do
anyway,
you get to be born in Oslo if your grandfather's Texas?
Well, in 1915, there were 3 big hurricanes in Galveston, 1900, 1912, and 1915. In 1915, they hit that side of the island that my grandfather and my grandmother lived on. They lost the house, and they decided to go back to Europe for a year.
Back to Europe. What do you mean? Why back?
To Oslo. They wanted to visit with the family while they were...
Which family?
My-
Who was from Oslo?
rest of the family still live in Norway.
But who was what? They were Norwegian. They moved to.
Moved to United
Oh, they
States.
were Norwegian
Yeah, they
immigrants. I
came.
see.
They came here in 1898 or
Okay.
whatever, and then they moved back to Norway for a couple of years just to visit the family while they were going to rebuild here. He died. My grandmother got stuck, and she, for the rest of her life, sang "Oh Galveston, oh Galveston." I mean, it was very cool. You know, I had American Pie, and we had after the war we had a lot of big gifts coming from Galveston, and they smelled this very special way. It came in big American boats with, you know, streamers of music, and you were a kid, it was really kick, and it smelled very different. When I landed in New Orleans,
What smelled different?
they
The
land-
people.
No, the package itself.
Oh, the stuff that
smelled.
came that
Yeah,
people
it
sent.
smells
Ah,
very
okay.
strange. So when I landed in New Orleans, I said, "Oh, that's the smell."
What's that smell? That's one of those great New Orleans expressions. It's not usually said with any affection, though.
Well, I say it with affection.
But
because
what was that smell?
It was that. Go to the French Quarter. I'm
That's what I'm
talking-
talking
wait a
about.
minute,
That's
I'm-
not the smell that people
I'm
usually
not,
appreciate.
I'm not talking Bourbon Street. I'm talking about in one of the old courtyards, for instance, is that
Mildew.
mildew, misty. You know, there's the heavy, there's potent.
So you
smell
had that smell
with me.
with you.
All the way till I came here.
Wow.
That's why maybe I stuck here. You know,
How interesting.
I couldn't get over
Find
it.
your
I felt home.
stash.
is the
So,
word.
so you were driven here by a smell in a hurricane.
That's correct. That's correct.
So nothing's much
Come
has changed.
to
from the-
New Orleans because of a hurricane. Wow.
Well, no, I did not.
Oh, okay, okay.
I would say
But you
that.
did sort of.
But I have
actually.
I have a lot of family in Houston, in particular, and I also have family here in New Orleans, and that's why I came here to visit. And then before you know it, you know what you
Can't
guys are
leave.
doing. You
Oh
can't
yeah,
leave.
Yeah,
that's
not gonna
You
happen.
know,
You get
stuck.
stuck. Everybody gets stuck here.
Right, you too.
Yeah, me too. I came here
I
for
mean,
like
you
a
came from California, of all
I
places.
originally came from LA, yeah. I came from New Zealand to LA and then LA to here. And it's, once you get here, you either love it or you hate it. You either come here and you go, this place is the dirtiest, hottest, most dysfunctional place in the world, or you go, wow,
Exactly.
why didn't I move here 100 years ago?
Well, that's my story. That's
yeah.
your story.
And that's you guys have got the same story, I'm sure.
Pretty much, yeah.
As musicians, where else could you live?
Nowhere.
Where could you live and play this sort of music and get it, you know, sort of the sustenance and nourishment you need to come up with this stuff?
I think we could do what we do anywhere really, but this place just makes us happiest doing it. You know, like we were talking about, you don't need to be the greatest musician to live here. I think it's just a matter of being genuine. you know?
Genuine, absolutely. Gotta have the heart.
And it doesn't matter what your skill level is. It's just
Right.
about, you know, if it's coming from a real place, people are going to appreciate it. And
That's interesting because what you guys are doing is so skillful compared to what other people are doing in this type of music. It's a whole other world.
Yeah, we try to add that level on. I think that's a huge part of our band is the technicality and like going in different harmonic directions or,
Right.
or however you want to say it. That's a huge part of it. But yeah,
we try to find freedom in it still too. You know, I mean, it's very structured, and you know, there's a lot of like arranging that goes on in band rehearsals and whatnot. But actually, something interesting. I was talking to this guy who turns out he's a chef in town at Koshan, and he was talking to me about similarities between cooking and music and writing music or playing music. And he was saying that for cooking, it's kind of like when you bake something, it's, you know, you have a very set recipe. It's kind of like if you play the same songs over and over again, it gets stale, and it's like, you know, you bake the same cake every time. You know, it's just, you know what to expect, and it's not that exciting. But if you're cooking something savory, you get to throw in your own ingredients and, you know, improvise a little bit, and we try to have like a mix of both of those things. You know, we have set recipes to all of our songs, but we like to throw in different spices each time we play them to make it different.
But at the same token, though, the improvisational level in this town is really one of the greatest things.
Absolutely.
Listen,
Absolutely.
There are so many bands that suddenly you get a call saying, "Can you sit in with us?" I don't know who's going to be playing, and I don't even know what the songs are going to be. Right? So you go to on stage. If you're not improvising, if you're looking for somebody to tell you what to do, you're dead in this city.
Yeah.
You know, you really are. I mean, you gotta
you're dead.
go with the flow. You gotta go with the heart. You gotta go with the emotion, and you got to stretch. I mean, here days you have no choice because again, you don't often have these really rigid band frames. I mean, I know people that work in 5-6 bands. I mean, and they do it continuously.
That is the sort of norm in New Orleans. There's
Exactly.
guys in
It
pickup
is.
bands all over. These guys are doing something completely different. You couldn't go and sit in with this
No, I know
unless
that.
you were really an
I know
awesome
that.
musician and could follow what's going on. Is this stuff written down? Are there charts for these?
No, we've never written. Or actually, recently.
Yeah,
some
recently we've
people-
had a few written down, but
Mostly
like
we
what
just-
you listen to, the next thing you're gonna listen to, all just rehearsed, learned, on the fly.
Let's take a listen to another one right now. What are we
Alright.
going to listen to?
6 paper joint.
Another word with the word six. in
Yeah,
it.
we gave you the dirty dozen here.
6 Dog Night, which was about
Corn
eating
dogs.
corn dogs, and this 6 paper joint sounds like it's something about what you'd have to do to eat 6 corn dogs,
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically.
About right.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the story behind this one?
Well, watching a TV show called Trailer Park Boys. Have you all
Yes, one of the most awesome TV shows
it's
ever.
great. I love it. So me.
Where is it
It's
from?
coming
From
back.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, they're making
on
an 8th
Netflix.
season. Yep.
Hey.
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
They're making another series of it, Chris? Yeah. Oh,
Dude,
right.
It's amazing.
Oh,
Love
it's
it.
great.
So Ricky in season 4, episode 3 or something, is watching over his field, and he's like, "Man, I'm just trying to smoke this 6 paper joint," and there's a picture of him, and it's massive. And so I was sitting next to the bass player on the couch. He's like, "That's what we're naming that song, 6 paper joint." And we're like, "Yeah, definitely."
6 paper joint.
Paper joints. Paper joints. I never heard about the
6.
drug called paper.
Well, no, it's not. Yeah,
It just requires that many.
6
to
mini.
fill it up.
You know. Yeah.
Okay.
Tor, I know you've never smoked pot.
I
but
was
yeah.
just making a joint. Okay.
That's a Norwegian joke.
Seriously.
It's no laughing matter. Okay, let's take a listen to it. Okay. Nice. 6 paper joint.
Thank you.
So Trailer Park Boys was the inspiration for that.
For the
Well,
naming of the song.
For the naming of the song.
The material, the music itself comes first, and then we basically struggle with words, which is primarily why we're an instrumental band. We don't have a singer. We can't write words very well, so we're not.
Is that
so
something
good
that
at
you
the
were?
talking.
Because that's how Galactic started off as well as a
Yeah,
instrumental
that's right.
band. Then they
That's right.
found that they, where they added a singer. Are you thinking about adding a vocalist ever?
We had a singer for a little bit. The first recording that we made, it was 5 songs, all original music, and one of the songs we wrote with this lady named Mahogany Medlock, and she's a fantastic singer. But we ended up, we were writing so much music that we ended up just kind of going in a different direction with just the instrumental thing, no vocals.
What do you expect to do with this stuff? Does it get played on the radio, this kind of thing, anywhere?
Yeah, we play on WWOZU pretty much. I guess like once every other week I'll hear it randomly.
Right.
Which is really cool that we got in there. WTUL will play it. Like the local stations will play it.
Right. And what's the big master plan here?
Festivals.
Master plan is just to get out. We're going on a pretty big, our first extensive tour this summer. Well, last summer we did 3 weeks in Colorado, which was amazing. It was my first time in Colorado. The mountains, the people, it was just like gorgeous. We had such a good time. This summer we're going to be all over. Right now it's kind of a bunch of tentative dates on our band calendar, but one thing that just came through was Brooklyn Bowl in New York City with George Porter Jr., who's the bass player in the Meters. So we're opening up for George Porter.
Oh, cool.
At Brooklyn Bowl in New York in June 19th, I think, something like that.
Something like that.
So if you listen to this show somewhere else in the United States, there's a chance that you can go onto your site, naughtyprofessor.com. I hate to ask people the stupid question, but where does that name come from?
There's a teacher at Loyola. Yeah.
Aha.
She's gone now. I won't name her, but our trumpet player.
Well,
had
she's
her.
gone. You can name her.
Oh yeah. Let's not go
there.
Yeah.
Naughty professor.
Yeah, we were really struggling to find a name, like as you know, our song names
Words.
would
Not a
go
strong
to
point.
speak for it, but you know, and our trumpet player's like, well, man, there's this teacher I've got who's always wearing low cut shit and just like really not being appropriate for.
What class is she
It
teaching?
was
English.
Yeah, it was
She was
honors
an English teacher. She would every
Did you have a
day-
lot of people in her class?
Assume so.
Yeah, we weren't in the class, so we're not the highest authority on this. But then, we just he came up with the name Naughty Professor. I was like, well, that's better than anything else we've come up with. So let's go with that.
So that's inspired by a woman you don't know or never
Right.
saw.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, you could get a tattoo of her on your arm.
Maybe,
next.
maybe
Or somewhere.
somewhere else.
Hey, let's talk about horses before we go any further.
Please.
You guys interested in
horses?
horses?
I'm from Texas, so yeah.
Do you know a bit about horses? Maria, you have a horse?
I do, yes.
What's up with that?
What?
Well, I did some horseback riding as a teenager. As a young girl, you know, I was obsessed with horses. And then for a long time, it was impossible, you know. I sort of had to leave that behind. And then I moved here, and I met somebody at a Thanksgiving party in Bayou St. John, and we got into a conversation. And she's like, oh, I have a horse. And I was like, oh, really? Oh, and at that time, my mother used to have a horse, and she kind of shared it with somebody. And I was like, oh, I told her that story. And she invited me to come out and meet her horse, and then she was going out of town
What
for
was
a
the
couple
first
of
thing you
weeks.
said to the horse when you met it?
Hi, Lucille.
Lucy?
Wow, good name for a horse.
So
Or a guitar?
Yeah, BB
my
King.
friend left town for a couple of weeks and asked me to look after Lucille, and I did. And then it was a tumbleweed situation. I started riding, and there was a guy who had an extra horse out there at the barn on the West Bank, and I started riding Maggie, and gradually I just got snagged into the horse world again.
You got seduced into horses.
I got seduced back into horses, and there was a baby horse at this barn. He was
A baby horse. I'm sure that's
baby
not
horse.
a term, is it?
He was a colt.
Colt.
A little
Maybe
black
it'd be a
colt
word
with
for that.
fuzzy fur, and he was so cute. And I used to go visit him in his stall and pet him and just love on him. And he belonged to this Reverend Powell. Reverend
Jeez, you've
Powell.
got some good stories, I got to say.
So
Okay.
he's like, when are you going to buy my horse? He kind of did his thing on me, and I was like, I'm thinking about it. And then at the end of the summer of 2012, I bought the horse.
How
And,
much was it?
Oh, a few $100.
That's all it cost to buy a horse?
Well, you can get a horse for free. You can get a horse for free up to you can pay $1 million for a horse. I mean, and everything in between.
And
But,
then the horse grew like the dragon on the Bible.
that's right.
So you can buy a horse for $200. I
You
had
can
no
buy a horse.
idea.
You know, the cost of a horse for the most part is the least of it.
It's cheaper than a bicycle.
Yeah, what
You
happened?
could ride
all
the
those
thing around.
Daddy, I want a pony type of things.
You
It's
end
like
up
$100.
paying the cost. The true cost is maintaining a horse. It's not just what the horse.
Well, I guess you got to feed it every day
You have to
and
feed
look
it,
after it,
yeah.
and it has
So
vet bills and
room and board and
have to
vet
put the
and all
horse's
that stuff.
hooves on it and all that
The
sort of
hooves,
thing.
yeah, you have to put the hooves on the horse.
I really have a curious question. Do you have to pay insurance for on a horse?
No, you don't.
In case the horse goes crazy and
No, I mean,
You
know,
mean to ride it on the street?
there's
Yeah.
many levels of horse worlds and race horses and show horses and but Louisiana, I don't fully understand the laws, but it's an equine state, so it means that you can ride a horse pretty much anywhere. And
It's an equine opportunity state.
and that's exactly right.
It should be on the license
and,
plate.
When you
Put it
go
in
to
Sportsman's
barns,
Paradise, right?
when you go to horse barns, you always see a sign saying Louisiana law dictates that the owner is not responsible for anything that happens when you are on their horse.
Wow.
Therefore, it is actually a much freer situation. Like back in New York, I would never have been able to make friends with Bill and go trail riding with him every Saturday morning. And one of his horses, who
in
his
case
wife
what?
had
In case
So
you
you
fell
don't-
off and broke your neck or something, it would
no,
be his fault.
somebody had fallen off and broken her back, which was the original owner of the horse, which was Bill's wife. And so Maggie hadn't been ridden for a few years when I started riding her, but he was like, sure, you can ride her, because I can't sue Bill if anything happened.
So-
and nothing happened.
so
and
you-
we were all very happy.
you don't have a brake tag sticker on between the eyes and a thing on the rear of the
No.
horse every year?
Nope.
So
No
Bill,
brake tag,
Bill is the
no.
guy who sold you the horse,
No, Bill is a guy who let me ride his horse, Maggie.
and his wife fell off the horse and broke her back.
Earlier, yes.
Oh yeah, not the same horse you bought, obviously.
No.
The horse you were
That
riding.
horse lived at the barn, and
The
the horse that I bought was owned by this this charismatic Reverend Powell, Moses Powell. He has an evangelical church somewhere on the West Bank, and he had a few horses, and this was a baby horse, and he wasn't really sure who the parents of the horse was. The mother he knew, but the father, like when my horse started growing up, he's like, maybe my other stud got to the mare, maybe she was like, it wasn't the quarter horse, it was the half saddlebred, half quarter horse. So
horses just have sex with each other randomly at night when the Reverend...
Well, if they have all their parts...
They do.
Yes, they
do.
do.
Are you insinuating something here?
No.
Well, most male horses, as with most male domesticated animals, get castrated.
Right.
So
Gelded,
yeah.
But this guy's horses weren't, so they could just go fucking each other, and then that's how you got your horse, whose name is what?
Bootise.
Bootsy the horse.
Bootsy Collins.
Yeah.
Named after Bootsy Collins?
Named after Bootsy Collins.
Nick, you have a horse story, it looks like.
No, I just like Bootsy Collins.
I thought
excited about that.
I thought you were interested before when we started talking about horses. You had something to say about horses.
No, I have nothing to say about horses.
Nothing at all.
I just like horses. Yeah, that's cool.
You do?
I do. Yeah.
What do you like about them?
They're interesting animals. They're.
In what sense?
I see them. Well, I mean, I grew up in Chicago and
there
saw
that explains
zero
it, right?
horses
Right.
there.
Yeah.
So I moved here, and then there's carriages and. Just
You'd never
seeing
seen
them
a
on the
horse.
streets was like bizarre to me.
Yeah, once in a while you can just be like on Orleans Avenue and there's a black cowboy on his fabulous Pinto quarter horse with red socks and he's all decked out. During Super Sunday, there was a whole crew of guys on Claiborne Avenue in Toledano on their horses. It was just, I've never lived in a city where people can just trailer their horses into town
Same.
and like ride around on the neutral ground.
That's where my fascination has mainly come from, was just seeing it in this city.
You've literally never seen a horse your whole life.
No, not that. I mean, I just mean
You
like
could have just
seeing
gone
them,
along
like,
with it. I thought that's
commonplace,
what you
yeah. Oh yeah, well maybe it was a better
Another
story.
interesting thing to me about horse culture here is that, okay, in the north, it's mostly like a white upper class thing, and that still exists here, but it's very much, there's like black cowboys here, and they're all over the place, and especially in, more like rural Louisiana. But where I keep my horse is in the urban area, a lot of people keep their horses out there, and there are a lot of black cowboys, and they're true cowboys. Like Mike grew up roping cattle on his horses.
Don't forget that Louisiana really have a very large horse, shall we call it, industry, if you want to call it that. I mean, there is like Kentucky and all of those states.
Right, well, that's the racehorse industry. That's
I know, but
completely separate.
Well,
It's a
I
different
understand that, but I mean, the culture it's very much around horses. I wouldn't say that in New Orleans there is not, but if you go further up north of the state, there's a lot of...
And there's a lot of crossover. Like the guy who takes care of the horses where I keep Bootsy, he used to train race horses.
Right.
And he's from around Opelousas. And
Right.
So it's very interesting.
Can we see you riding Bootsy around with your dragon tattoo anytime soon?
Maybe next year I'll ride Bootsy in a parade. He's only 3 years old, so he's just,
He's got a long way to go.
He's coming along, though.
Well, this has been a very interesting
If you
hour.
serve a little bit more of this stuff.
We can have another drink, but you'll have to pay for it now because the show's over.
Oh.
You have to start paying for your own cocktails here at Casa Borrega. I don't know what they cost. We might be able to get another picture out of you. Look, there's folks arriving now. They have to kick us out because they actually want to serve people here, and they have dinner. They have dinner and
It becomes
everything.
a real place.
It's a
now.
real place. Yes, they boot us out of here about now. Hey, you guys, thank you so much for joining me. That's been Happy Hour for another week. Maria Levitsky joined us, Tora Wallin, Bill Daniel, and Nick Ellman from Naughty Professor. Andrew Duhon will be back next week. Thank you so much. What a great happy hour it's been.
All right.
Our show is produced today by Graham daPonte. Our associate producer and technical director is Chris Kehoe. Christian Unruh is our music director, and Joshua Brown is our music coordinator. This theme song that you're listening to right now was written and is being played by Mitch Foreman. The fabulous audio quality of the show is brought to you in part by PreSonus Audio Electronics. For more information about their wide range of sound recording equipment and software, you can visit them at presonus.com. If you'd like to be on our show, please drop us a line. Our address is on our website. All you have to do is sit around here and drink cocktails for an hour and stay upright. On our website, you can also check out plenty of other happy hour shows, as well as our other shows, Out to Lunch with Peter Raschuti, live from Commander's Palace, Mindset with psychiatrist Dr. Nick Pajic, True to the Game with Chris True and Tammy Nelson, Viet NOLA, our show about the New Orleans Vietnamese community, with Kim Vu, and Midnight Menu Plus One with Margot Moss and the man who ate New Orleans, Ray Canada. You can also keep up with us on Facebook, Twitter, and a bunch of other time-sucking social media. On all of it, we're It's New Orleans. You can find photos from this show on itsneworleans.com and Facebook. These photos were taken by the fabulous Douglas Engel. Thank you very much.
All right.
If you're listening to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Swell, our favorite podcast app, or some other podcast app that you like better, take a moment to rate and review us. That really does help other people find us. Thank you so much. Our show was recorded live today at Casa Borrega on Aretha Castle Haley Boulevard. It's kind of, what would you describe this as? A bar, a restaurant, and a live music venue, mostly Latin jazz. Check it out on Facebook, Twitter, or come down here to Aretha Castle Haley Boulevard and see Casa Borrega for yourself. Have a meal here. Happy Hour is a production of INO Broadcasting for itsneworleans.com. For Graham daPonte, Chris Kehoe, everyone sitting around the table here at Casa Borrega, Douglas Engel taking one final photo for the day. Everyone back at INO, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Grant Morris. We'll see you back here next time on Happy Hour.
An interesting creature inhabits the flat, arid plains of many an automobile dashboard, the bobblehead. It's most agreeable and will nod along to anything, despite having no brain function. But when the bobblehead hears how Geico not only saves people money, but also gives them access to licensed agents 24/7 online and over the phone, he'll nod even more vigorously, because he knows you should switch. Because yes, switching to Geico is a no-brainer. Easy, bobblehead, easy. You're going to get whiplash.